Hey guys, it's LSuperSonicQ here with part 2 of the Then and Now series where we are taking a look at the evolution of my Sonic clay figure. So like I said in the last episode, if you're just catching up right now, Sonic was pretty much the whole reason why I'm as involved in the arts as I am. He was the first video game I ever played, and he was the first real inspiration towards my art and stuff. So because of that, I have a lot to thank for him kind of, making his mark in my life and just kind of shaping, I guess, who I am as a person. That sounds really philosophical, but I mean really, because like I said, this is just I'm just showing you guys Sonic clay models, and there's just like such a, when I think of Sonic in this type, I think of this, and he's influenced my art and all this stuff. So yeah. Anyway, continuing on with part two. Last episode, or last part rather, we took a look at the first three Sonic models and the evolutions behind them. This one focused on a lot more kind of I want to say three dimensionals, like the snout coming out and the spikes being on the back of his head. This Sonic that I said couldn't stand up very well, we took a look at how I've started to evolve him and put the muzzle on the front, made the face a lot more smooth, and just had an overall better shape. And in this Sonic, we talked about how I combined these two pretty much, and I made it so the features that should be pointing out like his nose were, and the features that should be flat like his muzzle were flat. But after these three, there came a time when like I said, the models I selected did, in my opinion, reflect the turning points. But the only problem that I have with them is I don't have specific dates for a lot of them. I know this one was only a couple years amongst like into my sculpting. I'm gonna guess that one was probably around the time I played SA2, which was probably a couple years after it came out on GameCube, because I was never really quick to jump on buying GameCube games. For some reason, most of the GameCube games I have are like Player's Choice, ironically. Um, so yeah, and like this one, I'm just gonna assume that it's probably around the time I got my GameCube Sonic Mega Collection with the artwork gallery. I probably looked up some pictures in the artwork gallery and sculpted those. So the only thing I can really go off of is around the times the games came out, because that's often when I'd sculpt a model based on the games. So based on that, there was a time, like I said, I don't know if it was exactly after I sculpted this one, probably not, but I know that there was a time when I just didn't sculpt Sonic for a long time. And this next model that I show, I'll talk more about that. But yeah, there was a time where for some reason, I didn't sculpt Sonic, and I almost forgot how to sculpt him actually. And thus came this model, probably one of my favorite Sonic models, even though it doesn't look completely on cue. But it's the Sonic the Fighter Sonic. Um, so like I said, this was a model of Sonic getting back into sculpting Sonic. And how I know that, I remember this distinctly, is because when I sculpted him, I'm like, how many spikes does Sonic have? Such a trivial question. And for some reason, I kind of did a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the middle type thing. I really don't know why I did that, but again, after a long time, I guess I didn't really remember. And I'm going to say this was around the time that I was playing Sonic Gems Collection, because as I said when I reviewed the actual Sonic the Fighter set, I was really into Sonic Gems Collection, Sonic the Fighters, and as a result, I wanted to sculpt the Sonic the Fighter set. However, this probably wasn't when the Gems Collection actually came out. It was probably, like I said, a few years later. But let's dissect this Sonic. So going back to the back, we notice that for the first time, I've actually bothered to put on any type of back spikes or tail. So he does have two back spikes there and a tail. But does that really make up for the lack of spike? You be the judge. So we got that going on. His ears, again, they're not really to the point that I really wanted them to be, looking back now. I just think they're still kind of too stumpy. But that's just me, maybe. The eyes, I'm starting to get a little bit better. I mean, if you notice, all these ones back here have their problems. Those ones I feel like are a little too, upward curvy, and they're not, big enough on the ends. These ones, they're too big and the pupils are too small. And these ones are just uneven. But these ones, I'm starting to, get more of the clay on the side and leave more room pretty much. And actually, if you can tell here, you probably can't because my camera can't really focus, but there's a little line in the middle that I drew with a toothpick to distinguish his, when he like, those ripplings like over the top of his eyes. You guys know what I'm talking about. So this was pretty much the first time where I actually tried to get the eyes down, pat per se, because I just really focused on the looping of them, leaving some on the side, and then pushing, the eyes downward to get that rippling effect. Despite doing that, really didn't do anything. It pushed the clay in rather than pushing it out, but still. And then in terms of the body, this is probably just a typical Sonic body. Like I said, when I reviewed this set, I was pretty much going for the artwork style, yet not really. I wanted to make them chibi. This one definitely looking a little more chibi, but not exactly the blocky style or the big heads that the in-game models necessarily have. But overall, definitely was a turning point, and his socks and shoes actually look a lot more decent in this video in this model than we've seen so far. I'm just gonna point this out though. I never fixed his head. He fell off my clay table a long time ago, and I just never fixed the head. So if I was doing that in the video or whatever, that's the reason why. Kind of for ceremonial reasons, or not ceremonial, but like for just reasons to keep it authentic to the time period. I just haven't fixed it. I probably won't either. I'm just trying to think about the best way I can do this, because I kind of want to show them all, but not just like line them all up. Okay, so that was the Sonic the Fighter Sonic. Let me push this forward a little bit. And next we're going to talk about yet again, another turning point in my Sonic sculpting, but this one is different for a lot of reasons. Not so much in the appearance aspect, but definitely in the, I don't know, like being able to sculpt it so much. Let me just talk about it. So this one is the Sonic art, which I actually have not reviewed this set yet. That's to come soon, just for you guys. So even though this Sonic, like I said, doesn't really follow how Sonic would really look like what I'm trying to achieve with these models, it is great in its own way, because for one, this was, to my knowledge again, because I really don't have the date set, this was my first real attempt at following artwork, like piece by piece, trying to make it look exactly like the artwork I used. And on top of that, it shows that because I can do that, I'm starting to kind of learn the parts of Sonic a little bit better. Mostly in the ears. I think for everything here, I've complained about how the ears, I just couldn't really get exactly how I wanted them to. And for this model, the ears, I think, are just perfect. Even in the Sonic R style, the ears are just really, really good, because they're bold, you can see them, and they're just really prominent on his head. The eyes, again, once again, I'm starting to really capture the eyes, even though this is Sonic R style artwork, because I just have a lot of white left over, and the pupils are starting to, merge into the center of his forehead, which is really good. Just like with the Sonic the Fighter one, the nose is still prominent and, open, I guess, coming out of the face, and the muzzle is still flat. This smile, again, I think this is probably the best smile we've seen so far, because it just looks the best, and it's on artwork, and I think it just looks the most Sonic. But like I said, in terms of the actual style of this Sonic, it shows that I can really get the character down, because I can make those kind of, the blocky arms and like the squarish hands and the spikes. This is kind of confusing, because I know that the spikes to Sonic R and stuff, they're like cones, and they're a lot, more three-dimensional. But however, I only made these ones two-dimensional. So aside from that, it's kind of interesting how I would go back to one of these earlier ones with the whole flat spikes at this point in time. But I guess I just did that for whatever reason. And it's really clear as day here that you can see two back spikes and a tail. And those have, you can see those. They haven't come off or anything. So, and just the overall appearance of Sonic is getting a lot better and stuff. Like I said, I note for probably the third or fourth time, this is Sonic R artwork. But regardless, it just looks really, really appealing. And again, just, yeah, I'm getting it down. The shoes and stuff are a lot cleaner and neater. So at this point, I'm really understanding the character of Sonic, and I can look at the artwork and really capture what's there. So, alright, that is Sonic R Sonic. And now the last Sonic for this part is one that I think kind of is at the turning point of, okay, I can sculpt Sonic really good without having to look at any artwork. And it's this one. So, you guys saw this one way back in a video game clay figure models video a long time ago. And what made this one different, and I don't actually think I went into detail in the video because there's a video game clay figure models and you guys know how those work, but what I pretty much did for this one is the main point about why I put this one in this video is because I sculpted this one entirely in school. And this was in the 8th grade, I believe. I believe it was in the 8th grade. And pretty much, so that was, what, a few years ago, a couple years ago, 3 years ago. So pretty much, what's going on here is I sculpted this entirely in school. And because I sculpted it entirely in school, I didn't have any access to any artwork, or I didn't bring any artwork in. And I was pretty much just going off of what I could remember. To start off, though, because I do remember this being an issue, is that I was going to put 6 spikes on him. However, due to clay limitations and the fact that, I didn't want him to completely fall over in the kiln, because I actually only made this because I wanted to kind of show off my skills, if you can believe that. Everybody else was kind of making pots. Some people were making really simple models, and I'm like, I've been sculpting Sonic for, years. Why not make a Sonic and kind of show off? So that's what I did here. I just didn't want to risk it falling over and then being like, oh, that's the extent of my Sonic, a puddle on the ground. So no. But aside from that, for this being completely sculpted and painted and it's glazed and stuff, that's why it looks really weird blue. It's not even blue, it's like green. But because of that happening in school, it shows that I've now captured what Sonic actually looks like, and I can kind of sculpt him on the fly, essentially. We have the ears, which are just, I think, the best ears we've seen so far, because they work the best for this model. The Sonic R ears work the best for the Sonic R model, but not so much for any other one, because like I said, they were kind of big. But these ones are just perfect for this Sonic. We have the smooth head, aside from the spikes and stuff, or the only having 3 spikes on the back. But we got the tail and the 2 spikes, again, which kind of go along with everything, because if you notice these spikes and tail are a little more three-dimensional, just a little bit more, and these ones are kind of flat, but these ones are kind of all the same. They're done in the same way. The eyes are the only thing that I might just nitpick now about, because, I don't know, it's just like, I don't know, it's not so much the whole rippling above the eyes that I wanted, but I think with the combination of my own interpretation that I used, it works pretty well. I think, well, this is the first time in, like, so far, quote unquote, that I've made Sonic with the little pointing up finger thing. So that kind of, again, shows that I can, well, not only that I can take artwork and kind of, sculpt it, but I can take my own poses and gestures, so to speak, without using any artwork, and sculpt them to their likeness. So that's pretty cool. Because, I mean, even take out that arm, even not even counting that arm, like, that kind of weird, he's kind of, it's on his hip, like, what kind of artwork has Sonic with, one hand pointing up and the other one on his hip? Not many that I know of. And again, the shoes are kind of just the same that we've been going along, except they're a little bit taller this time rather than being flat. But that's probably just my own nature and, critiquing of how I would sculpt Sonic as a character. And we still got the smile going with the little line at the edge to make it that kind of, kind Sonic smile. So this was definitely the first point in which I could successfully sculpt Sonic without using any type of artwork, and where I've really gained a concept and grasp of the character. So that was part 2 to my then and now history of my Sonic sculpture video set. So thanks for watching, guys. If you missed part 1, then check that out. And part 3, the final part, is coming up next. So thanks for watching, guys. I'm LSuperSonicQ, and stay tuned for the next part. Finn.